Hello learners, welcome to week 2 of your training in data analysis for monitoring and evaluation professionals. I am your tutor, Lere.The.Analyst. So in week 1, we built the foundation where we discussed what monitoring and evaluation means, also the meaning of data analysis, why data matters, the types of indicators, baselines, and targets, and how to create an M&E framework. Now we are moving into the practical side. Today, we are beginning with one of the most important tools every monitoring and evaluation professional should know, which is Microsoft Excel. So our topic for week 2 is Microsoft Excel for M&E professionals. Whether you work with an NGO, development agency, healthcare projects, education projects, or even donor-funded intervention, chances are high that most of your data already exists in Microsoft Excel. But here is the problem. Many professionals collect data, yet they struggle to organize it properly. They struggle to clean errors, analyze trends, or even calculate indicators. So today we are going to start fixing that. By the end of this class, you'll be able to confidently open raw data and begin preparing it for analysis. Let's begin. Before we begin Excel, let us understand something called raw data. Raw data is data that has been collected but not yet cleaned, processed, or analyzed. Think of it as information in its original form. For example, let's imagine an NGO runs a women empowerment program. After the training, the NGO collects names, ages, gender, attendance status, test scores, and completion status. At this point, it is still raw data. So, raw data does not create insights. We must organize, clean, and analyze it. And that is exactly what Excel helps us to do. Now let's move over to our Excel workbook. So this is our Excel interface. If Excel feels intimidating, do not worry. We worked briefly with it last week. So we'll still start from the basics today. So, you see this top part, it's the ribbon. This top part is the ribbon. And it contains tools like formatting tools, calculations, charts, data cleaning, and the rest. These are ribbons, okay? So in Excel, we also have what we call a workbook and a worksheet. Now that we opened this Excel, Microsoft Excel, once you open a Microsoft Excel, it is a workbook. You see like this one now, it is not named, it's a workbook. When you open a fresh Excel, it's a workbook. And in each workbook, you have a sheet. This interface we are seeing now is a sheet in the workbook. So you can add as many sheets as possible inside the book. It's just like your textbook or your exercise book. It is a book and they have pages, sheets. So that is how your Excel workbook is. This is a workbook that you can name to whatever it is. And inside this workbook, you can have several sheets, which you can also rename. You understand? If you want to rename this now, all you do is to double click on it and you can rename it whatever you like. So that is the difference between a workbook and a worksheet. Simply put, a workbook is the entire Excel file. A worksheet is an individual sheet inside the file. Okay? So now we have our rows and columns. These are the rows and these are the columns. The rows are the horizontal line that goes like this. And in M&E, each row usually represents one participant or one observation. Let's say this is John. John is the name. Then every other parameters of John, maybe age, email, whatever, contains John's information. Okay, so a role is one beneficiary. Then we come to a column. The rows are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. Why the columns are numbered A, B, C, D? Okay, they are the vertical lines and they represent variables like name, gender, age, state, attendance, and whatever. Then you see this box-like thing like this I have clicked. It's showing you the position where you are in the worksheet. Okay, so this tiny box is called a cell. Every cell has an address. You see this one now. The address of this cell is A1. Why? Because it is in column A and row 1. If I come here and I click here, you see the address is showing here. It is in column G and row 10. So every cell has an address. So let's take a moment to identify the rows, the column, the worksheets. Practice, just get familiar with it. Okay. So now, for the purpose of this training, I got a sample data set, which is this M&E data set. This was the last exercise we did when we created the framework. But let's go to this our data set. All right. So now let's look at this real monitoring and evaluation data sets. Okay. So these are the columns. Like we said, the columns are the vertical lines and they are variables. So what variable do we have on this particular data set? We have beneficiary ID, which is the unique identifier. Every beneficiary that came for this program has an ID, which is a unique identifier, a number. And this ID, what is the importance? It is given to them to prevent confusion. Then the second column is the participant's name. Then the third one is their age. It is important for age disaggregation. Or maybe we are trying to explain donor reporting. Okay? So the next column is gender, which is very, very important in monitoring and evaluation. Many program reports male versus female participation. Okay? Then the next column is state. It is used for geographic. The state. It is used for geographical. Oh my God. Next column is the state, which is used for geographical analysis. For example, which location performed best. Then we have the local government too that perform best. The state and the local government, they are both used for geographical analysis. Then we have the program name, the program they registered for, so that you can be able to identify which program more people enrolled for. Then we move on to the date of registration. Okay, the date they registered, the attendance status, which is used to calculate attendance rates. So here you see present, absent, that's what you use to calculate the rate. Then completion status, some people completed, some are pending, so you put it there. So their pretest score, knowledge before training, right? That's their pretest score. Then we now have their post-test score, which is knowledge after training. This is what we use to evaluate the impact that was achieved during that particular project. Okay. Then we go to employment status after training. After the training, what happened? This helps us to measure our outcomes. Remember our indicators the other time. So here you see self-employed, unemployed, employed, things like that. So you use it to measure it. So what kind of variable does your organization collect? All right. It is important to note that so that you will work with what your organization collect. This is just a sample data. One of the biggest mistakes in monitoring and evaluation is poor data entry. So where there is poor data entry, there are going to be lots of errors, and then the cleaning process will be cumbersome. Okay, so let's look at some good data entry habits. Rule number 1, avoid blank rows. Why should you avoid blank rows? Because blank rows can disrupt your analysis. Number 2, be consistent. When you are writing something like female, male, you see this now, it's in what do you call it? It's not in uppercase, it's not in lowercase, it is in title case, where the first letter begins with capital letter F. So you cannot come and say, okay, this other one will now be like this. You understand? It is no longer consistent. So you have to be consistent. If you are using lowercase, use lowercase. If you are using uppercase, use uppercase. Whatever you're doing, and even the number, the beneficiary ID, you cannot say 1, 2, 3 to 15. Then this next person, you now say, oh, you now say 0, 1, 6. Sorry, this is still number 16, but that is not how you started. This is not consistent with what we already have here. So we have to be consistent. Okay, because if you are not consistent, all those will amount to cumbersome data cleaning. So in your data entry, you have to be consistent. Rule number 3, avoid spelling error.